I would like to now call upon Mr Chinmaya Meher. He works with a leading multinational bank in the UAE. He heads the client onboarding team. He has led teams in OR, compliance, and CDD operations. Mr. Meher has great understanding and expertise in AML, fraud risk, and branch operations. With an illustrious career over 23 years in the financial industry, he is passionate about healthcare technology and hopes to be a part of building one. Welcome, Mr. Chinmaya.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm really humbled to be part of this esteemed gathering. I'm here to share my experience and also learn from all of you. Just to add on what Mr. Jasbir said, at a very high level, I can talk about a framework. First, you need to understand the local legal and regulatory requirement in the country you are operating in. And at a very high level, have a program for yourself. You should have a policy procedure. I'm just talking about any entity who need to meet any regulatory or AML requirement. They need to have a very high level policy. They need to have dedicated persons managing that policy. In the banking industry, we call them CML, CO, or you can call a compliance officer, or you can also appoint one chartered accountant or professional service to manage that role. You don't need to have your own. It depends on what you can afford and what is the capacity and how much time you want to spend on that. And then create a procedure, like CDD procedure Mr. Jasbir talked about, how to conduct due diligence, risk rating, and things like that, and disseminate across the organization for people to understand and abide by that. The next step comes is training. Training is very, very important. It's not a book or a rule book that can be just left on the table and people to understand and read. This is a very evolving area and has to be, talked about very often. And you need to have a proper training program, one-time training, onboarding training, and regular training for your staff and customers or vendors. The training has to be in a structured manner as to who need to go through what kind of training. Some of the experts in the organization need to really get certified, like ACAMS or other industry certification. Others in the organization who just need to know, they may go through a very high-level basic training. And once you have the training, the tone from the top management is very important. The CEOs or the general managers or the top management of the organization need to keep reiterating this importance of this item once in a while to the whole organization, because when normally people, the way they see their leaders to behave, they tend to behave in that way. And then adhering and implementation of that policy. And if you happen to encounter any red flag, then you need to report. The last part is monitoring and reporting. So keep monitoring the transaction, monitoring the business, and report to the regulators, whoever is required. Thanks. I mean, you guys have already given a lot of information. What I was thinking, go a little high level. What is sanction and why does sanction happens? It is normally a tool which is used once where a diplomacy ends, between countries and organizations. They are trying to fix an issue and diplomatically they are not able to solve, and they use the tool called sanction. The next step could be a war. So it is such a difficult tool which is used. And the repercussion of sanctions are at times, vast. It is almost like an economic war against a country or an individual. So there are a lot of sanctions which are issued by many global organizations like UN, EU, US, UK. There could be country sanction also, like UAE regulator may have their own sanction. So irrespective the source of sanction, there is a list. Take it as a list of individuals or entities or countries that are in a list which you need to avoid. It is as simple as that. And when you are screening against sanction, don't just go by your client. I would say look at the important people in your client organization, like your CEO, directors, beneficial owners, majority shareholders, and also look at some of the counterparties they deal with. If they have a major supplier or a consumer, or they are dealing with a counterparty who themselves are sanctioned. So these are second level sanctions which normally at first glance you may not be able to encounter, but there is a risk. So it's always good to just go beyond your client organization ownership or beneficial owners and take a look at the next level, which is suppliers, consumers, or counterparties. Thanks. Maybe just one small point. He's already covered everything. the way in our industry we call it, can you demonstrate that you have done everything required to find the issues? And even if you have not found it, it's okay. If you can demonstrate that you have asked the right questions, and if you have documented that what you have asked and kept it on record, which can be reproduced later. Thanks. I mean, banks are generally cautious. I would put it that way. Because any financial product has AML risk, whether it is digital or physical. But this cryptocurrencies and digital assets, the technology is so new and so advanced, probably we don't understand them fully. We have some understanding, and it is evolving at its pace, and it is changing every day. So we don't have really full understanding the way the full industry operates and what are the repercussions around it. So banks are cautious, but it is not untouched from money laundering. If you remember, I think early this year, there was one news in US that a couple were caught with the cryptocurrency based laundering for $100 million plus dollars. And they were actually invested in the industry for a very long time, many years. And the investigative agencies were tracking them for over 5 years to reach to a conclusion that these are all laundered money. So while money laundering or sanction aspects are, yes, there, but given the newness of the technology and the complexity, it's better to be a little cautious around it at this point in time. Thanks.
I think
okay, I will make an attempt, and experts are here. So the way I look at it, the story has to gel, whether it is cash or a bank transfer, because if you are not able to get the story, then you have to dive and reach what is the original source of money. Is it legitimate money or illegitimate money? Don't go by the transaction at level 1. At times we go to level 2, level 3, level 4 to understand where is this coming from and why has it come.